The sun was falling behind the hills of the quiet mining planet when Jace Rowan finished his work for the day. He wiped the dust from his hands and stepped out of his workshop, expecting another silent evening. The desert was always calm at this hour. Nothing ever changed here. That was why he chose this place. No noise, no trouble, no surprises. But tonight, the sky did not stay quiet. A loud roar rushed over the desert, followed by a streak of burning light. Jace froze, staring up. The light grew bigger, brighter, and then began falling fast, straight toward his workshop. The ground shook as a small escape pod crashed into the sand only a short distance away. Metal hissed with smoke and sparks. Jace did not think. He ran. As he approached, he saw strange symbols glowing on the side of the pod, symbols he had only seen once before in old war reports. They belonged to the Dragon Empire. His heart beat faster. That was not a good sign. Still, he moved closer because someone inside might be hurt. The pod door groaned open with a heavy metal sound. Jay stepped back, unsure what would come out. For a moment, he saw nothing but smoke. Then a tall figure slowly stepped forward. She had scales like dark silver armor and long wings folded tightly against her back. Her eyes glowed with a soft, tired light, and her clothes were torn as if she had run through storms and battles. Jace had seen pictures of dragon nobles before, but never this close. She was a dragon princess. Behind her, a small girl stumbled out of the pod. She looked like a child of the same species. Tiny wings, trembling hands, and bright, scared eyes. The child held on to the woman's leg, as if she had no strength left. The princess lowered herself to one knee, right in front of Jace. Her voice shook, but she tried to look strong. "Human, please," she said softly. "We need help." Jace was so surprised that he almost forgot to breathe. A dragon princess kneeling in the sand? That was something he never expected to see. Dragons were proud. Dragons were powerful. Dragons did not bow to humans. But the fear in her eyes was real, and the girl was clearly hurt. Jace took a slow step forward. "Are you injured?" The princess nodded once. "My daughter, she is weak. I had to fly through enemy zones. We escaped, but we cannot run anymore." Her wings trembled as she spoke. "Please, just for one night. Shelter. Safety." Jace looked at the small dragon child. She was trying not to cry, but her little claws held the princess's arm tightly. Her breathing was weak. Jace felt something heavy settle in his chest. He could not just walk away. He placed his hand on his tool belt and sighed. "All right, come with me." The princess looked up, shocked. "You agree so quickly?" Jace shrugged a little. "You crashed near my home. You need help. It's simple." But it was not simple. He knew it. She knew it. The entire galaxy knew the Dragon Empire did not forgive those who had fugitives. If anyone found out, he could lose everything. Yet, he could not ignore two lives in danger. The princess stood and gently lifted her daughter in her arms. Jace guided them toward his workshop. The desert wind blew around them, soft and cold. Inside the workshop, Jace cleared a table and brought a medical kit. He worked with calm hands, cleaning the girl's small wounds and checking her temperature. She watched him silently, her eyes big and bright. "What's her name?" Jace asked. "Lisha," the princess answered. She watched every move he made, ready to shield her child again if she had to. But as she saw Jace's careful touch, her shoulders slowly relaxed. "And you?" Jace asked softly. "Princess Seralith of the Dragon Empire," she said. Then she hesitated. "Former princess." Jace looked up. "Former?" Seralith lowered her gaze. "The Empire hunts us. I disobeyed an order." Her voice grew tight, painful. "Now they want me captured. Or worse." Jace didn't ask for details. He could see enough fear in her for a lifetime. Lisha finally whispered something and reached for her mother. Seralith held her close, her wings curling around the child like a warm blanket. The sight surprised Jace. He had always imagined dragons as fierce, proud, and cold. But Seralith was simply a mother trying to protect her daughter. "You can stay here tonight," Jace said. "I'll keep watch." Seralith stared at him, confused. Why would you help us? You know what danger follows us. Jace gave a small, tired smile. I'm human. We always help people who need it, even when it's hard. Saralith seemed to search his face, trying to understand something she had never seen before. Then she gave a quiet nod. Outside, the night deepened and wind swept across the sand. But inside, the workshop felt warm. Saralith placed Lisha on a blanket Jace set out and watched her fall asleep. She looked at Jace again, not as a princess, but as someone carrying heavy fear. Thank you, she whispered. And though Jace did not know it yet, the simple choice he made that night would shake the entire Dragon Empire and change the future of the galaxy. The night air outside was silent, but inside Jace Rowan's workshop, the tension was heavy. Saralith, the Dragon Princess, sat beside her sleeping daughter, Lisha. Her wings curled protectively around the small girl. Jace watched quietly from his workbench, not wanting to disturb them. He could see exhaustion in the princess's face. Dust from the desert covered her scales. Her silver armor was cracked, showing signs of a long escape. But what stood out the most was the deep worry in her eyes. You should rest, Jace said gently. Saralith shook her head. I cannot. If I sleep, I may wake to find soldiers inside your home. I cannot let that happen. Jace folded his arms. No one knows you're here. That is what you think, Saralith replied softly. But the Empire never stops hunting. Jace understood fear. He had lived through a war himself. He knew the look of someone who had lost everything. But he also knew that fear could not be allowed to decide every step. You're safe here, he said again, this time with more confidence. Saralith turned her eyes toward him. Humans say many things. Words are easy. Safety is not. Her voice was calm, but Jace could hear the pain behind it. Maybe she was used to people promising help, then turning away. Maybe she expected Jace to hand her over to the Empire for a reward. He pushed aside his tools and walked closer. What happened out there? Why is the Empire after you? Saralith hesitated. She looked down at Lisha, brushing a small claw through her daughter's hair. Because I chose my child's life over command, she whispered. And in the Empire, that is considered betrayal. Jace nodded slowly. So you ran. I ran because they would have taken her, Saralith said. They said she would be raised for war. Trained young, hardened early. It is the way of our empire. Her voice cracked. But she is just a child. She should not be shaped into a weapon. Jace felt a cold anger settle in his chest. He knew the cost of war. He had seen children lose everything. He understood why she fled. Saralith continued. When I refused, they sent hunters. They chased us through our own stars. They chased us across human borders. They chased us until my ship broke apart. She held Lisha closer. I will never let them take her. Jay sat down beside her. Not close enough to frighten her, but close enough to show he understood. You did the right thing. Saralith looked at him with surprise. Do you mean that? Of course, Jay said. No parent should be punished for protecting their child. The princess lowered her gaze. In my world, duty is more important than love. Well, Jace replied, in my world, love is something we're fighting for. Saralith stared at him as if trying to understand a language she had never heard before. He could see the question forming in her mind. She wanted to trust him, but trust did not come easily to her kind. A gentle noise broke the silence. Lisha whimpered in her sleep. Her small wings twitched. Saralith immediately leaned over and whispered soothing words in her own language. The child calmed down again. Jace watched the moment quietly. A fierce dragon princess acting like a worried mother. It was something he never imagined he would see. It made him even more certain of one thing. He could not let the Empire take them. He stood and took a deep breath. Saralith, he said, I'm going to make you a promise. And I don't break promises. She looked wary. What promise? I'll protect you and your daughter, Jay said simply. No matter what. Saralith's wings shifted in shock. Why? She whispered. Why would you put yourself in danger for someone you have known for only hours? Because you need help, Jay said, and because your daughter deserves a chance at a normal life. I won't stand by while the Empire tries to steal that from her. Sarah stared at him for a long moment. Her eyes softened, just a little. You speak as if you're still a soldier. Maybe I am, Jace answered. Deep down. She looked away, her expression troubled. What if the Empire finds us? What if they threaten your world? Humans are already seen as weak by many of my kind. Helping me might break the fragile peace. Jace took a step forward. Then they will learn something new about humans. Saralith blinked slowly. And what is that? That humans don't run from people who need them, he said. Not anymore. The princess glanced at Lisha again. The child slept peacefully now, breathing softly. Saralith gently smoothed the blanket over her, then whispered, Your world is strange, Jace. You act without thinking of yourself. It is confusing. Maybe, Jace said with a small smile, but it's how we survive. The workshop grew quiet again. Outside, the night winds blew across the desert, carrying the smell of dust and faraway storms. Saralith finally lowered her head, exhaustion finally winning. Will you keep watch while I rest? She asked, her voice low. Jace nodded. I will. Saralith lay beside her daughter, her wings forming a protective shelter around both of them. Her eyes slowly closed, but before sleep took her, she whispered, Thank you, human. Jace sat near the door with his old rifle beside him. He listened to the wind, the quiet breathing of the mother and child behind him, and the distant hum of ships in the sky. He had made a promise, and now he would keep it, no matter what the Empire planned next. The message traveled through the Empire like a spark in dry grass. A human had taken in the missing dragon princess and her young daughter. Some people whispered it, some shouted it, some refused to believe it. But the news kept spreading, and soon it reached the halls of the Dragon Empire itself. High Emperor Varric stood before a massive glowing map of the outer worlds. His golden scales caught the light as he stared at the blinking signal. It was a human settlement, a small one, nothing special. But now it was more important than anything else in the Empire. He narrowed his eyes. So, he said, his voice deep and sharp, my daughter hides a human. Around him, royal guards shifted nervously. Commanders bowed their heads. Even the stone walls seemed to grow cold. General Mara stepped forward, his huge wings tucked tight. My emperor, we do not yet know if the human is an enemy or simply a fool. The emperor let out a low growl. Anyone who shelters a traitor is an enemy. But not everyone in the room agreed. Some shared quiet glances. Some were uneasy. The princess had always been kind, gentle, respected. She had never wanted war. Many remembered her warm smile when she visited villages. Many remembered how she helped injured soldiers and sick children. General Merith continued, We must be careful, my emperor. The humans are unpredictable. They fight harder than their size suggests. And this man, they say he is a veteran. The emperor's claws clicked against the floor. A single human veteran is nothing compared to an empire. But his voice was not as steady as before. He knew humans were strange creatures. They helped each other for no reason. They protected strangers. They fought like wild stars when pushed. And they did not fear dragons as much as they should. Another voice spoke, quiet but firm. My emperor, what if your daughter sought the human because she trusted him? It was Council Elder Seraph, an ancient dragon with silver blue scales. She had always watched over the royal family. Trust. The emperor almost laughed. She ran away from her duty. She hid her daughter, and now she hides behind some human walls. But Sarah didn't back down. She may have reasons you do not know. You refused to hear her when she begged for peace. You wanted her to marry a warlord she feared. A heavy silence fell. Guards stiffened. Commanders froze. The emperor's tail lashed the floor. Enough. But Sarah bowed gently and said nothing else. Outside the palace, the empire shook with rumor. Soldiers and outposts whispered about the princess and the mysterious human who protected her. Some admired him. Some hated him. Some wondered if he was brave or simply insane. In the training fields, warriors sharpened claws and armor. Ships were prepared. Scouts were sent across the border worlds. The Empire wanted answers, and it wanted them fast. Far from the palace, in a dusty border camp, 2 young dragon soldiers sat by a glowing heater. "Did you hear?" one asked. A human stood between the princess and an imperial hunter. A single human. "Madness," the second replied. "But impressive. Do you think he's doing for gold?" "No, humans don't act like that. They do strange things because it feels right." The first soldier sighed. Maybe she chose a better protector than any of us." In the capital, the emperor gathered his elite guards. Their scales were black as night, their eyes sharp and cold. "You will go to the human world," he ordered. "Find my daughter, bring her back, and deal with anyone standing in your way." The guards bowed, their wings unfolding like shadows. But before they left, Elder Sereth stepped forward again. "My emperor, let me speak to her first. Violence will only push her farther away." "No," he said, "this is no longer a family matter. It is a matter of power." Sereth lowered her head, sadness deep in her eyes. She knew the emperor had lost control of his fear, and fear made kings dangerous. The empire prepared to move. Warships hummed as their engines warmed. Armor was polished until it shone like fire. Messengers ran from tower to tower, spreading orders. But beneath all the noise, something else was happening. Some dragons secretly hoped the princess would not be found. Some hoped the human could protect her. Some hoped this strange alliance could change things. In the underground market, traders whispered, "A human protected a royal dragon? Impossible." Others said, "Maybe humans are stronger than we thought." And a few said, "Maybe the empire needs someone like him." In the highest tower, the emperor watched the skies as his warships launched. "This ends soon," he said to himself. But deep down, even he wasn't sure. He did not know how far the human would go. He did not know how brave his daughter had become. And he did not know that the entire empire, slowly and quietly, had started to admire the man he feared. The reaction had begun, and nothing in the empire would ever be the same again. The night sky over the small human town was quiet, but inside Daniel's house, tension filled every corner. The dragon princess sat at the table with her daughter close to her side. The little one clung to her arm, sensing the fear in the air. Daniel stood near the window, watching the distant mountains, knowing the empire would arrive soon. The princess finally spoke, her voice soft but shaking. "Daniel, if you let us go, maybe the empire will leave you alone." He turned to her. "That's not happening. I promise to protect you. A promise is not something I break." Her eyes lowered. "They will punish you for it." Daniel shrugged slightly. "Then let them try." The princess looked at him for a long moment. She had seen brave humans before, but none like him. There was something steady in his eyes, like he had already accepted the danger. The princess whispered, "Why do you care so much for someone like me?" Daniel thought for a moment. "Because you didn't deserve what happened to you, and because your daughter deserves a future where she isn't hunted." The little girl peeked up at him and smiled shyly. Daniel smiled back, but that peaceful moment vanished when a loud alarm rang across the settlement. The air shook, engines thundered above. The empire had arrived. Daniel rushed outside while the princess held her daughter close. In the sky, a massive warship hovered, its lights glowing like twin suns. Dragon soldiers landed on the ground with sharp thuds, spreading out in formation. The townspeople panicked, running for shelter, but Daniel walked forward with calm steps. The princess followed him, trembling but determined. General Mythical stepped out from the front line, his wings folded tightly and his armor shining. His eyes locked on the princess. "Your Highness," he said, "your father demands your return." The princess held her daughter tighter. "I cannot return," she said, "not while my daughter is in danger." General Mythical looked at Daniel then. "And you, human, step aside. This is not your fight." Daniel shook his head. "It became my fight the moment I gave my word." Mythical growled, "You cannot challenge the empire." Daniel stepped forward until he stood only a few feet away from the towering dragon. "I'm not here to challenge the empire. I'm here to protect a mother and her child." Silence spread across the field. Even the engines above seemed to quiet. The princess watched him, her heart racing. This human, who owed her nothing, was about to stand against an entire empire. She felt something new inside her, something heavy and bright. It was the weight of a choice she had avoided for too long. General Mareth turned to the princess again. "If you stay with the human, your father will call it treason. He will bring war to this world." The princess took a shaky breath. "I never wanted war. I only wanted safety for my daughter." Mareth's eyes softened for a moment, but then he straightened. "Then make your choice. Return with me, or stay with the human, and become an enemy of the Empire." Daniel looked at her. "You don't have to choose based on fear. Choose what's right." The little girl tugged her mother's arm. "Mom, I like Daniel. He makes us warm food." The princess almost laughed, but her voice cracked. She looked at Daniel, then at the soldiers, then at the skyship waiting to take her away. Her whole life, she had followed orders. Her whole life, she had been told her choices didn't matter. But now they did. She walked toward Daniel slowly, her daughter in her arms. When she reached him, she placed her free hand on his shoulder. "I choose my daughter," she said, "and I choose the one who protects her." A shocked murmur rose from the soldiers. General Mareth stared at her for a long moment, then closed his eyes. This was the answer that could change everything. Daniel stepped in front of the princess. "Then you're staying." The dragons bristled, ready to attack, but Mareth lifted a hand. "Wait." He studied Daniel, seeing something he had not expected. Strength without arrogance, courage without madness. Then he looked at the princess's daughter. The child's eyes glowed softly, showing the rare power that had made the emperor fear her. Mareth turned away from his troops. "I will report that the princess cannot be taken by force." A soldier shouted, "General, the emperor will punish us." Mareth's voice became steel. "Let him. I follow honor, not terror." The soldiers hesitated, confused and afraid. Some lowered their weapons. Some looked away, ashamed. The warship above dimmed its engines, waiting for orders. Daniel exhaled, relief mixing with disbelief. The princess felt her knees weaken, but he caught her before she fell. She looked up at him, tears shining in her eyes. "You changed his mind," she whispered. Daniel shook his head. "No, you did. You made your choice." Mareth stepped closer one last time. "Human, protect them well. The emperor will not stop." Daniel nodded. "I know." The soldiers slowly retreated. The warship pulled away into the night sky, like a fading star. The air grew quiet again. The princess looked at Daniel. "I made a choice today," she said. "A choice that will change my life, and maybe the empire." Daniel smiled gently. "Then we face whatever comes next. Together." For the first time since her escape, the princess felt hope, small, fragile, but real. And that choice, simple yet brave, would soon shake the empire to its core. The sun climbed slowly over the mountains, painting the small human town in warm gold. Daniel stood outside his home, fixing a broken fence panel. Something felt different now. Quieter, safer, but also heavier with the weight of what came next. The princess and her daughter had stayed with him for weeks, and their presence had changed everything around them. Inside the house, the princess watched her daughter play with a wooden toy Daniel had repaired. The little girl laughed softly, her small wings fluttering with excitement as she tried to make the toy fly. For the first time in a long time, she looked like a normal child instead of a frightened fugitive. The princess sat down on a chair, her hands resting gently on her lap. She still wore simple human clothes, loose and comfortable. She had grown used to them, just as she had grown used to the quiet mornings. Daniel stepped inside and gave her a small smile. "Fence is fixed," he said. "No more gaps." She smiled back. "You fix everything in this place." "Not everything," he replied softly. "But I try." Her eyes warmed. She had seen many warriors in her life, many leaders, many heroes. But Daniel was different. He did not seek glory, and he did not want power. He simply tried to make things better, one small thing at a time. The little girl ran up to him and held up the toy. Daniel, look, it almost flies. He crouched down and gently adjusted the wings. Try now. She tossed it again, and this time it glided a bit farther. She cheered, wings fluttering faster. The princess watched them with a faint smile that grew brighter every day. But their peace was fragile, and all three of them knew it. Later that afternoon, Daniel received a message on his old communication device. It came from a contact in a nearby city. When he read it, his face tightened. The princess noticed immediately. "What is it?" she asked. Daniel hesitated. "They say the emperor's angry. He's sending scouts to different worlds. They think he wants to find you himself." The princess looked away. "I thought he would." Daniel placed the device aside. "That's why we need to prepare." "Prepare for war?" she asked quietly. "No," he said. "Prepare for a life, a future, something you can rely on, even if the empire comes again." She looked confused. "How can we prepare for that?" Daniel walked to a shelf and took out a small box. Inside were maps, tools, energy cells, and communication tags. "I've been planning," he said. "If we need to move, I know where to go. If we need help, I know who to call. And if we need to fight, only if we must, I'll be ready." The princess stared at him. "You would fight the emperor for us?" "Yes," he said without hesitation. "Because you're not alone anymore." Her eyes filled with emotion, and she had to look down to hide the tears forming. She had spent her whole life being treated like a piece of power, a weapon for the empire, a symbol rather than a person. And now, a simple human saw her as something more, someone worth protecting, someone worth fighting for. That evening, the three of them ate dinner together. The little girl told stories about her dreams, stories about flying high above the clouds and touching the stars. Daniel listened carefully, smiling at her excitement. The princess listened too, her heart softening with every word her daughter said. After the child went to sleep, Daniel and the princess stepped outside. The night sky glittered with stars, calm and endless. "She will grow strong," Daniel said. "Stronger than anyone ever expected." The princess nodded. "Yes, she is a rare gift, but I fear what the emperor will try to do with her." Daniel leaned against the railing. "Maybe she won't grow up under the emperor's shadow. Maybe she'll grow up here, or somewhere far away, somewhere safe." The princess turned to him. "But would you really leave your home behind?" "If it keeps you both safe," he replied, "then yes." She looked at him with surprise and quiet gratitude. She stepped a little closer, feeling a warmth in her chest that had nothing to do with fear. It was trust, something she had not felt in years. Days passed, then weeks. Daniel built stronger walls, better shelter, and escape routes hidden under the house. The princess learned human customs. She cooked simple meals, helped him organize supplies, and taught her daughter to control her growing power. Sometimes she laughed, softly, shyly, but it was real. The townspeople slowly accepted her presence too. Children waved at her daughter. Adults brought small gifts, food, blankets, tools. They were afraid at first, but Daniel's calm confidence helped them see the dragon pair as more than fugitives. One evening, while Daniel worked on a new generator, the princess approached him with something in her hand. It was a small silver crest, a symbol of her royal family. She held it out to him. "This was my mother's." She said it was a sign of trust. "I want you to have it." He paused, surprised. "You're sure?" "Yes," she said, "because trust is what shaped our future, and trust is what will protect us." Daniel accepted the crest gently. "Then we'll protect each other." The princess smiled, a soft, hopeful expression. "Yes, together." The little girl ran out of the house, laughing. "Look, I can glide now." She jumped from a low ledge and spread her wings. She floated for a second before landing safely. Daniel clapped. The princess rushed to her daughter and hugged her tightly. In that simple moment, under a setting sun with a small family gathered, something became clear. They were no longer fugitives hiding from a powerful empire. They were building a life, a future shaped not by fear, but by hope. A future built together.